Hi, this is Randy, and in this next video, we want to take a look at the networking inside of ESXi. We want to set up a couple of virtual switches and create port groups for them. These will become the switches that our virtual machines that we create will connect to. First thing I want to show you, though, is I want to show you the physical NICs here that we have installed in our servers. And what I want to point out is that the names change. They're like VMware calls this one an NE1000. When we purchased them, they're actually an Intel i219LM. This one here is Windows calls it a Pro 1000. The cards that we bought were actually an Intel 8254 NIC. And so the only thing, my point is this, the only thing that's consistent if you're trying to identify your network cards is the MAC addresses. That's really the only kind of rock solid way to know which network card you're working with. So in our handout, we've got a reference to that here, that all of the motherboard based NICs, they're built into the motherboard, are the MAC address starts with 54. Let me circle this for you. The MAC address starts with 548E38. All of them. This first 6 characters of that particular network card all start with F48038, and the same with the other network card. The 6 characters, leading 6 characters on it are 001B21, and then the remaining 6 characters will be individual or unique per network card. MAC addresses, as we know, are always unique. So when you're trying to figure out which network card you're working with or what's going on, it's the MAC address that becomes your reference point so that you know. Now, when we installed ESXi, we told it to use the VM, what it's calling VMNIC0. This is the references that VMware gives them. VMNIC0, VMNIC1. So VMNIC0 is tied to our management network, or it's the one that we're used for iSCSI and to remote in. And this one, what ESXi is calling VMNIC1, is unassigned, and we're going to assign it to a virtual switch, and we're going to call it Internet because it is physically connected to the Internet. All right, so having done all that, let's go ahead and do we want to create 2 switches. We want to create one called CorpNet, and this is going to be an internal switch. It's not going to be tied to any physical adapter. So the way that we do that is we come down here to networking, and then we go over to virtual switches, and we say add a virtual switch, and then we get to name it. Now it knows that we have one free network card available, and there isn't any drop down here to get rid of that. To actually remove that, we actually go over here and we click on the X, and that takes away the physical adapter, and we're going to have now an internal only virtual switch, and that's it. We go ahead and create it, and we can see it here. Now, having created it is only half of what we need to do, and we also need to create a port group tied to that switch. Now, this is different between ESXi 6.5 and 6.0. In 6.0, when you created a virtual switch, you at the same time created a port group, and they've changed that with 6.5. So we go over here to port group, and we go to add a port group. I'm going to use the same name. I'm going to call it CorpNet. No VLAN ID. What virtual switch? We're going to specify that it's tied to the CorpNet virtual switch. Now, if you make a mistake on this and you want to go back and fix it, it's not a big deal. Okay, and that's it. Okay, it looks good. All right, so there it is. Let's go ahead and do the other one. Let's go do the Internet one, and then we'll go see if we can take a look at all of them in picture format as we did earlier. There's something else that we want to do here too, and that's that we want to get rid of the management NIC. Let's do this now. If we go to the management NIC, okay, VM network, we go to actions. We can see this was a default. I mentioned this in an earlier video that this one was created just as part of the default package of installation. You get this VM network here, and it was tied to the network card that's also our management. Well, we don't want to use that. We don't want any virtual traffic for our lab project here going out the management NIC, and so we're just going to get rid of it. Let's go ahead and remove that. Okay. All right, so that cleaned it up a little bit. So if we look over here now, we've got iSCSI and management on vSwitch 0. We've got CorpNet on CorpNet virtual switch, and let's go ahead and create our last one, and that's our internet switch. So the same thing, add, we'll call this one internet. And we do want to use our remaining VMNIC1. And again, how did I know? I had to match MAC address. Well, we only have two, and so it's kind of process of elimination. But when you're working with multiple network cards, you're going to have to match MAC address and then identify which NIC, what does VMware call that network card that you're wanting to use. So I'm going to call it internet. I'm going to leave this time. I'm going to go to add. So now we have it. We have it as a virtual switch, but again, we need a port group. And so we go to port group and we say add. We call it internet. And then from our drop-down list here, we pick our internet switch. And that's it. I did mention, though, that I wanted to take just a moment and do the big picture here. So if we go to our virtual switch 0 and we look at the graphical of that over here, we can see that we have our iSCSI and management, which are tied to physical NIC VMNIC 0. Okay. If we go back to take a look at CorpNet, CorpNet, notice, has no physical adapter. What we'll see as we create virtuals and connect them to this network, we'll see them connect here. Okay, we go back and then we take a look at internet, and now we see that we have a switch here. This is the switch represented here, and we've got VMNIC1, and that is physically connected to the internet. So that's it. That's setting up our network adapters inside for our virtuals, and I'll wrap up this video and we'll continue on.